Good morning and a very warm welcome to Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. Let's begin with a look at the top stories first. Army and the Air Force step up rescue and relief work in Jammu and Kashmir as floodwaters start receding. The massive scale of the disaster, huge losses to crops and property now visible. In a prime-time address to the nation, US President Barack Obama vows relentless effort to destroy the Islamic State militant group in Iraq and Syria. Airstrikes but no US ground troops in the region. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj meets Afghan President Hamid Karzai, inaugurates the new Indian Embassy building in Kabul. And UK, US and the EU announce funding to take on the Ebola threat. Bill Gates Foundation pledges $50 million. After a week-long nightmare, floodwaters have finally started to recede in Srinagar. Close to 1 lakh people have now been pulled out by armed forces, but the challenge is far from over, as almost 5 times that number are still reported to be stranded in areas that have not been reached. As the waters recede, the scale of devastation becomes even more glaring. Take a look at this report.
With no rain since Tuesday, rescue operations in flood-hit Jammu and Kashmir have gained momentum. Choppers were used to rescue people stranded on rooftops in Srinagar on Wednesday. So far, around 80,000 people have been rescued by the Army, Air Force and NDRF teams. But the situation remains grim as over 4 lakh people are yet to be reached.
The Army is there, there is no doubt about it. And the operations are carrying on for evacuation throughout day and night. At night also, throughout the night we are operating. And we are supplying all the essentials, food, water, blankets, tents, medical facilities, and those who need medical assistance that is being provided, those need medical treatment.
आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पर वायुसेना के हेलीकॉप्टर में बचाव दल ने कुछ और लोगों को उस जगह से निकाला है जहाँ पर ये 4-5 रोज से फंसे हुए थे। आप इनकी मनोदशा समझ सकते हैं, इनकी तकलीफें समझ सकते हैं, जहाँ पर इनको भूखे प्यासे 3-4 दिन गुजारने पड़े। लेकिन अब शायद ये उन खुशनसीब लोगों में से हैं जिनको कि सुरक्षित निकाला जा चुका है।
इधर बहुत मुश्किल था, हम लोग 3 दिन खड़ा था, उधर पानी भी नहीं है, खाना भी कुछ भी नहीं है।
हर कोई मिलके इस कोशिश में है कि कितना ज़्यादा हम लोगों तक पहुंच पाएँ। इसमें आर्मी, एयर फोर्स, एनडीआरएफ, पुलिस, सीआरपीएफ, बीएसएफ, सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, सबों की एक ही एक कोशिश है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों तक पहुंचा जाए।
The Army has built a temporary bridge over the river Tavi in a bid to reach flood-ravaged villages. Nearly 45,000 people living in about 45 villages in the surrounding area were cut off after the bridge collapsed.
इस पुल को बनाने के बाद में हमने इसे राहत सेतु का नाम दिया है, क्योंकि इस पुल के जरिए न केवल राहत सामग्री जा रही है, बल्कि इसने लोगों के दिलों में भी एक राहत की सांस दी है।
As water begins to recede from parts of the state, the magnanimity of the devastation is slowly becoming clear. Demand for food and drinking water has gone up. Victims are calling for more relief. The state has also suffered massive loss of crops, leading to an increased demand for compensation.
ना हमें 4 दिन से खाना मिला है, ऊपर एक दिन हमने ब्रेकफास्ट किया था जिस दिन आए थे, 3 दिन से यहाँ फंसे हैं।
Connectivity remains the biggest hurdle in rescue operations. While some of the key road links are open, several villages still remain inaccessible. Efforts are on to restore telecom lines as soon as possible.
कम्युनिकेशन जो है उसको अभी चालू किया जा रहा है। हमारे पास जितने भी सेट्स हैं, सैटेलाइट फोन्स, वो दे दिए हैं और हम बल्कि मोबाइल कम्युनिकेशन भी आप देखेंगे 2-3 दिन के अंदर काफ़ी एरियाज में अंदर।
Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Umar Abdullah took an aerial survey of the flood-hit areas on Wednesday. As floodwaters recede from parts of the capital, the state administration's biggest fear is widespread epidemic. With Pranav Goswami in Srinagar, Bureau Inputs for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Union Cabinet met on Tuesday evening to take stock of rescue and relief operations in Jammu and Kashmir. The centre has assured all possible help to the state to deal with the tragedy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi directed officials to provide total support to Jammu and Kashmir government to enable it to ramp up rescue and relief operations. He stressed on the need to quickly reach essential commodities to the affected people. Ahead of the meeting, Food Minister Ramvilas Paswan said the centre is ready to supply food grains on the credit to the state. And for more information on the flood situation in Jammu and Kashmir, the centre has come out with helpline numbers. Here are the flood control room numbers set up by the government on your TV screens. And as Jammu and Kashmir battles massive floods, other states are bracing for a similar situation. In Andhra Pradesh, water level of Godavari River is on the rise, raising concerns of massive flooding in East and West Godavari districts. Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has asked officials to remain alert to ensure faster relief and rescue operation. In Gujarat too, the Met Department has issued a flood warning after heavy rains lashed many parts of central and northern Gujarat in the last 24 hours. In Vadodara, the Vishwamitra River is in spate. Over 2 lakh people in the city have been affected. The civic body has sought Army's help to provide food packets to those stranded in inundated residential areas.
पानी भर गया है, इसलिए आने जाने में सब जगह तकलीफ हो रही है और खाने पीने का भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है। अगर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन नहीं हो सका तो सब लोगों को तकलीफ परेशानी होगी।
सब प्रबंध कर दिया है, लेकिन हमें अलर्ट रहना है। यदि इसमें बाढ़ में विश्वामित्री नदी में ज़्यादा पानी आता है तो ज़्यादा विस्तारों में वो पानी जाएगा, इसीलिए हमें अलर्ट रहना है। और अलर्ट रहने के लिए या ज़्यादा पानी आ जाता है तो हम लोगों ने एनडीआरएफ की 3 कंपनियां रखी है, आर्मी तैनात की है, बोट वगैरह दिया है, पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट में जो तरवैये हैं जो स्विमिंग करते हैं उनको भी अलर्ट रखा है। ये सब काम राज्य सरकार ने कर दिया है। थैंक यू।
In Pakistan, the death toll due to floods has crossed 230. Officials said more than 2 lakh people have been displaced as the Pakistani army continues evacuation efforts from the flood-hit areas. In the flood-hit Punjab province of Pakistan, authorities have breached a strategic dike to ease pressure on the flood defences downstream and protect the urban areas. More than 700,000 villagers have been forced to flee their homes. Landslides have damaged roads and power lines, leaving many without electricity and drinking water. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Army Chief Rahil Sharif visited the flood-hit areas on Tuesday. Troops have been put on high alert as the Pakistan Met Department forecast more rains in the next 24 to 48 hours.
हुकूमत आपके घरों को दोबारा तामीर करने के लिए, अपने मामलात को ठीक करने के लिए इंशाल्लाह आपकी पूरी मदद करेगी, पूरा आपका साथ देगी और पीछे नहीं हटेगी इंशाल्लाह। चाहे कितना भी खर्च हो जाए हम करेंगे इंशाल्लाह इसके लिए।
All right, we'll slip into a short break here. Still to come, Ukraine says Russia rebels are withdrawing from its east, a fillip to peace in the region. That and much more on the other side. To stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching The Breakfast News. Now, in another big story of the day, in a primetime TV address, US President Barack Obama has pledged a relentless effort to hunt down Islamic State militants. As he announced airstrikes in Iraq, he did not rule out US action in Syria as well. However, Obama assured that troops will not be deployed on ground. Take a look at this report.
So ISIL poses a threat to the people of Iraq and Syria and the broader Middle East. If left unchecked, these terrorists could pose a growing threat beyond that region, including to the United States. Tonight, I want you to know that the United States of America is meeting them with strength and resolve. We will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country wherever they are.
US President Barack Obama outlining his strategic plans to fight the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, as he vowed a systematic campaign of airstrikes in Syria and Iraq against IS. He called for additional resources from the Congress to fight against IS. The much-awaited address by the US President comes as Americans prepare to observe the 13th anniversary of September 11 terrorist attacks.
I can announce that America will lead a broad coalition to roll back this terrorist threat. We will conduct a systematic campaign of airstrikes against these terrorists. Working with the Iraqi government, we will expand our efforts beyond protecting our own people. That means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria as well as Iraq. We will increase our support to forces fighting these terrorists on the ground.
At least 10 countries have already extended support to the US against the group that calls itself the Islamic State. Secretary of State John Kerry is traveling across the Middle East to bolster up international coalition that Obama is seeking. Kerry has returned to Jordan after meeting with top leadership in Iraq.
It's a terrorist organization is mobilizing its international network to recruit people from all over the world. They have funds coming from across the region. We are fighting these people.
This is a fight that the Iraqi people must win, but it's also a fight that the rest of the world needs to win with them. And it's a fight the United States and the rest of the world need to support every single step of the way.
Meanwhile, in Iraq, the Defense Ministry released a video allegedly showing its armed forces pushing back an Islamic State advance in Haditha towards west. The army said that 150 IS fighters who entered Iraq from Syria through the border have been killed. Following Al-Qaeda, IS has emerged as a major terror threat to the world. After a rapid military advance, IS now controls large parts of Syria and Iraq. The jihadist group runs a de facto government from the Syrian city of Raqqa, employing officials and administrators. Its fighters have become notorious for their brutality, beheading enemy soldiers and Western journalists on video. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And we have with us this morning Dr. Matthew Joseph, Associate Professor at the Jamia Millia Islamia, to discuss his perspective on Obama's 4-point plan. A very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha TV, Dr. Joseph. First of all, you just heard President Barack Obama unveiling his 4-point strategy to fight the Islamic State militants. What do you think? Has he been effective enough in convincing the Congress as to what his strategy against the Islamic State militants is going to be?
You know, right now, he doesn't need the support of Congress for this kind of an action. He's going to Congress in order to get support to legitimize his action. That is the thing. Otherwise, American president has, the other day, they have come out with a statement saying that he has enough powers to do that. Right now, his, he has to prepare political opinion within the country to have some kind of legitimacy for this action in Middle East. So that is exactly the point.
What do you think about his strategy regarding Syria? Should he be supporting the moderate rebels against the Assad regime? Because now he's opened up a dual battle in Syria. One is against the Assad regime, the other is against the Islamic State militants.
It would be a very difficult task for the United States to do right now because, you know, they don't have any presence on the ground there in this area where ISIS is there and Syria, Bashar al-Assad's forces are battling with ISIS. So how to distinguish between moderates who are fighting against ISIS as well as fighting against Bashar al-Assad is going to be a very serious problem for the United States. Again, ISIS also is supported by, initially it was supported by Saudi Arabia. Even now people believe that Saudi Arabia is behind that because, you know, they had some problem with Bashar al-Assad. So enlisting the support of Turkey as well as Saudi Arabia for a force fighting against ISIS also would be very difficult. So I think this strategy would not work as Obama expects.
Right. What do you think regarding Iraq? He's made very clear that he's not going to send ground troops to Iraq. while, increasing the number of airstrikes in Iraq, obviously taking into confidence the newly elected Iraqi government. What do you think, not sending ground troops, is it a wise move by Barack Obama?
Definitely, because for Obama is the person who brought back troops from Iraq. So how can he send troops again to Iraq? That's a problem. Moreover, at this moment, ground forces would not be that effective also. If you send ground troops, there will be more casualties. So they will be preferring more precise airstrikes, the way they have carried out in Somalia as well as Yemen. That is the route they are right now taking. I think that would be better for the United States in dealing with the situation at the moment. But the question of Middle East, the problem in Middle East is largely dependent on America's policy towards Middle East, because they are always following a short-term policy of protecting their interest, national interest for the time being. But if you seriously look into the politics of Middle East, deepening of democracy is required. Deepening of democracy happens in Middle East, these kind of problems would not happen. America, unfortunately, is taking a position which is not supporting democratization of the Middle East. That's exactly the problem. On the one hand, they are supporting Israel. On the other hand, they are supporting countries like Saudi Arabia. Both are, in a way, opposed to the democratization of Middle East. So unless and until they review this policy of supporting these undemocratic regimes in Middle East.
Exactly. So that brings me to a question. How difficult is it going to be for Barack Obama to balance between the regional and the international allies in the coalition against the Islamic State militants?
Right now, the only concern would be to somehow deal with Islamic militants there, Islamic State. But they're not thinking beyond that. I think they should think beyond that. The route, they are actually attacking or trying to solve the results, not addressing the causes of how these kind of problems are developing in the Middle East.
Right.
I think it is the problem of democratization. Unless and until they address the question of democratization in Middle East, things will continue as it is.
Right now, so they're just focusing on the short-term strategy, which is to curb the Islamic State's militants from expanding, while a long-term strategy is needed. Thank you, Dr. Joseph, for joining us this morning and giving us your perspective. Now, moving on to the diplomatic front, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has said India will always remain Afghanistan's first strategic partner. Sushma Swaraj met senior Afghan leaders in Kabul yesterday. India has extended monetary assistance to the war-torn nation for repair and rehabilitation work, promising all help to deal with key challenges of security and stability.
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj arrived in Kabul on Wednesday. The minister is in the neighbouring country in a bid to strengthen ties and review the progress of key projects that have been implemented in Afghanistan by India. Afghanistan is standing at an important juncture as it approaches the first democratic transfer of power since the fall of the Taliban. Swaraj's visit comes at a time when there are rising fears of the re-emergence of the Taliban and other Al-Qaeda-linked elements in the country as NATO forces prepare to withdraw by the end of this year. The External Affairs Minister held talks with Afghanistan President Hamid Karzai on crucial bilateral and regional issues, as well as on defence and security assistance from India. Afghanistan has been pressing India for supplying military hardware to strengthen its security setup. India has invested $2 billion in aid and reconstruction and trained scores of Afghan officers, but has been careful in the supply of arms and military hardware for fear of provoking Pakistan as well as armed groups in Afghanistan. India is the fifth largest bilateral donor in Afghanistan after the US, UK, Japan and Germany. India's program covers 4 broad areas: infrastructure projects, humanitarian assistance, small and community-based development projects, and education and capacity development. Among India's major infrastructure projects are the highway from Zaranj to Dilaram in southwestern Afghanistan and the construction of the Afghan Parliament building. India has also taken initiative to develop the Chabahar port in Iran, which could act as a major transit point for India to Afghanistan. Swaraj also met Afghanistan counterpart Zarar Ahmad Osmani and inaugurated the new Indian embassy in Kabul. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And let's now take a look at what else is making news around the globe in the World Wrap. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has pledged $50 million to support emergency efforts to contain West Africa's Ebola outbreak. This comes on top of other funds announced by the UK and the US governments as well as European Union. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation said that it would release the funds immediately to UN agencies and international organizations to help them buy supplies and scale up the emergency response in affected countries. More than 2,300 people have died of Ebola since December 2013. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko says that Russia has removed the bulk of its forces from the country, raising hopes of a peace drive. Poroshenko said that 70% of Russian troops have been moved back across the border, adding that Ukraine would remain a sovereign, united country, but parts of the east under rebel control would get special status. At least 30 people were killed in a series of attacks in Iraq's capital city of Baghdad. The attacks were mainly car bombs aimed at security forces and the market area. The deadliest attack took place when twin car bombs hit a police checkpoint near a pet market, killing at least 19 people. Britain and France secured the top jobs in the incoming European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker's new team, which faces the task of tackling Europe's stagnant economy. Britain's Jonathan Hill has been put in charge of financial services regulations, while former French Finance Minister Pierre Moscovici has been named Economic Affairs Commissioner. 3 of the 7 powerful new posts have gone to women. 2 people were injured after a device in a trash can exploded in a supermarket in the Chilean coastal town of Vina del Mar. The blast comes a day after a bomb in the capital Santiago left 14 wounded. Chile is on high alert after the twin attacks. No one has claimed responsibility and the police say they still do not know who was behind the attacks. And a look now at the global stock markets. A rebound in Apple shares helped push US stocks higher on Wednesday, breaking the market's 2-day string of losses. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 54.84 points or 0.32% to close the day at 17,068. Standard & Poor's 500 gained by 7.25 points or 0.36% to end the day at 1,995. The Nasdaq Composite added 34.24 points or 0.75% to finish at 4,586. Asian stock markets sank on Wednesday, dragged down by technology stocks. Japan's Nikkei was down by 0.33% or 44.56 points to close the day at 15,744. Hong Kong's Hang Seng also lost 0.08% or 26.75 points to end the day at 25,186. Continuing its losing streak for the 3rd straight day, gold prices dipped below the 28,000 level by falling 0.54% to hit over 2-month low of 27,201 rupees per 10 grams on sustained selling by stockists amid a weakening global trend. In line with a general weak trend, silver dropped further by 0.29% to 42,731 rupees per kg as speculators partially offloaded positions amidst a weak global trend. Now, a judgment is expected today in the trial of Olympic and Paralympic star Oscar Pistorius for the murder of his model girlfriend Riva Steenkamp. After 41 days of testimony and drama in the Pretoria High Court, Judge Thokozile Masipa will give her verdict, which can range from convictions for premeditated murder to acquittal. Pistorius won 2 gold medals and carried the flag for South Africa at the opening ceremony of the London Paralympic Games 2012. Pistorius was arrested on the 14th of February 2013 for the alleged murder.
She told me that Oscar was a human being.
And for some more sports-related news, here's the Sports Beat. In its first UEFA Euro 2016 qualifying match, England beat a Switzerland team that was 11 places higher in the FIFA rankings. Wayne Rooney played his first competitive game for England since he was appointed the captain of the team. After a scoreless 45 minutes, England kept pressing hard in the second half and got the breakthrough. Sterling sets up Danny Welbeck for a cool finish from in close to give England a 1-0 lead. Hodgson's team settled the victory in stoppage time of another counter-attack. Sterling found Ricky Lambert and the latter set up well back for a shot into the corner. Simone Zaza and Leonardo Bonucci were on target as Italy eased to a 2-0 win in their opening Euro 2016 qualifying Group H fixture away to Norway in Oslo on Tuesday. Striker Zaza, winning just his second cap, opened the scoring with a deflected shot in the 16th minute before defender Bonucci headed home just after the hour mark as the Azzurri marked Antonio Conte's first competitive game as coach with a victory to launch their bid to reach the European Championship finals in France. In a huge blow to Pakistan, off-spinner Saeed Ajmal has been banned from bowling in international cricket by the International Cricket Council after his action was deemed to be illegal for all deliveries. Ajmal, who has been Pakistan's lead spinner in all formats in recent years, was reported after the first test against Sri Lanka in Galle last month. The decision to ban him was taken after an ICC-accredited team of biomechanics experts tested his action at the National Cricket Centre in Brisbane. Ajmal can apply to the ICC for a reassessment at any time after modifying his action. Undefeated welterweight Floyd Mayweather Jr. promised an exciting rematch with Argentina's Marcos Maidana ahead of their heavily anticipated rematch in Las Vegas on Saturday. Mayweather improved his perfect professional record to 46-0 with a majority decision victory when they first clashed in the ring on the 4th of May, a fight in which the American felt that the Argentine did a little bit of everything. Mayweather, widely regarded as the world's top pound-for-pound boxer, went on to dominate the contest before one judge ruled the fight a draw. And that's all we have for you in Breakfast News today. Thanks for watching and have a great day.